Got it. You're on it today. Thank you. All right. Well, good morning. Happy Monday. I can't believe it's already October. And some of you guys have taken my 411 class before. Anybody that's taken it want to unmute themselves?
I did once
Not,
in the
that's
beginning.
okay. What'd you say?
I did once when I just joined in.
When you just joined. Perfect. Well, thank you for coming back. The idea of this class is really one is to go over what a 411 is and how to do it. But I do this class every month. So if you do want to come back to the class and go over your own numbers with me, we can use you as an example to go through and see how you're hitting your goals. So did anybody bring a 411 to class with them?
What's a 411?
Mike, we're going to go over it. Thank you, Matt. So we're going to come get Mike's help in a second. I love it. Thank you. But what a 411 is, and thank you, Matthew, for asking. That's a great question because a lot of people, this is their first time in the class. But a 411 is a business plan, right? And so you should really create the 411 for your entire year. But not only to do the 411 for the year, but really every month you should be looking at your 411, modifying it, making it customizable to what your month looks like. So the fact that this is October, everybody can see that, right? October. Not only do you do your 411 for the entire year, but every month modifying it to see where you're at with your goals. Granted, we're at the end of the year. There's only 3 months left. It's just one last quarter. If you guys have your goals for 2021, you got 3 months to finish them, right? My goal for the office is to hit 2 billion in sales this year, and we just crossed 1.5 billion. So is it likely that we're going to hit the goals? I think so. We'll find out in December. But the idea is that, so you're going to set annual goals for yourself. So that's what the A is for. Monthly goals. And then the weekly activities. There's generally 4 weeks in a month. That doesn't really look like a 4. But the activities are how you are lead generating, or what are you doing every single week to hit your monthly goal. And if you're hitting your monthly goal, you're going to hit your annual goal. And if you're off track for whatever reason, you kind of know what to modify in your own goal. Does that make sense? Any questions so far? All good? I know. I need to get a little laptop here so I don't have to keep looking behind me. So Mike, you're gonna help me out here today?
Yeah, I got you. No, I'm pretty efficient on this.
I love
So
it.
yeah, I got the 411. I can explain it as well.
Perfect. So give us an example of what an annual goal for you is.
Okay, I stretched it. I've been doing this for a while, but when I did this morning, I put 1 million GCI. So the yearly goal is 1 million GCI, 20 listing appointments, 40 buyer appointments. And I have it split up into 2. So on one side to the left is my business and to the right is my personal.
Perfect. I love it. So a couple great things that you said there, and I use all these different markers. So you said 1 million GCI goal, 20 listing appointments, and 40 buyers, right? So it doesn't matter what your goals are, right? But those are his goals. So one thing that Harma and I like to do, because 411 isn't something that's completely different, right, is to put brackets next to all of your goals. And what's going to go in the bracket is where you are at in reaching your goal. So since it's October 4th, and Mike, you don't have to share this with us, but like what would be here in the numbers is where he is at so far to date in reaching these goals. So if he's done 30 buyer appointments and 10 listing appointments, that's what's the number is going to be in the bracket, right? The other thing I love what he said was that You know, and the sheet that we use. So if you don't have the sheet, just send me an email or the front desk. And it's just the 411 sheet. And it's just, we can send it to you in a Word document. So it's easy for you to modify it every month. But then that way you can type it and then make the changes as needed. But in that sheet, it also shows personal goals. So maybe on the left, like he said, he has business goals and then he has personal goals here. You want to share any of those personal goals with us?
Why, of course.
Thank you.
Read 12 books, live healthy, buy one new property.
So 12 books, let's put a bracket. What were they again?
Sarah's frowning when I said buy a new property.
New property.
Buy one new property and live healthy.
Live healthy. I love it.
And that's the yearly goal. So as you go down, I'll break it.
Yeah. So how many books have you read so far this year?
I'm not really sure.
All right, let's just say there's 8.
She says
right?
3.
So what's cool is, right? So for example, even in the monthly goals here, so if he wants to read 12 books for the year, it's really, you know, 1 book a month. Right? Can you guys all see that? I know it's a little different being in this training room, but you guys can see, so there's the 1 book right here, right under the month with the bracket in it. So like an example would be, if you're making your sheet out for the month, right? Because you set your annual goals for the year and you can tweak those, right? They're not like set in stone, but as you're doing this, so if I were going to sit down with Mike and go over this 411 with him on a one-on-one basis, and you know it's the beginning of October, what I normally like to do is like, okay, well, bring me your September one that's filled out so I can see how you did in reaching your goals. But then bring me October, because today's October now, and what is your plan for the rest of the month, right? Because if you just kind of do this once a year and put it to the side, I guarantee you're not going to hit your goals, because you're not going to be looking at them, modifying them, tweaking them every day, every week, every month, right? But for example, if Mike's going to sit down with me over his goals for this month and he's going to read 1 book, well, he probably has the idea of what book he's going to read this month, right? So maybe right down here below 1 book, he puts the book he's going to read with a little bullet point. Maybe he's going to read the MREA, because I'm teaching a 4-part series on the MREA this month, right? So to that, breaking down that personal goal, even, you know, there's his 12 books, that's the book for the month. And in the weekly thing, you know, maybe he's going to break up the book and he's going to read, you know, 100 pages MREA, 100 pages MREA, right? With the bracket here again. So he's going to read through the 400 pages of the MREA, but now he's simplifying his life a little bit better and he's going to knock out the 100 pages. So if he gets through the end of this week and he's not at page 100 of the MREA, guess what happens next week? You know, he might need to read 120 pages of the MREA. And because you're looking at this every week, you're able to modify that, right?
That's interesting because, you know, I've never done it that way. I have it, this is why I logged on. So I have it as 12 books a year, 1 book a month. But then when it went to the weekly, I didn't have anything down there.
Yeah.
So that's
those are really, yeah. So those are your activities. So that's great.
Right.
That's how we were able to break down a book, right? The same thing goes for your business and your lead generation activities. So maybe, and I'm glad you have $1 million goal, Mike, but we're going to go a little smaller for some of the brand newer agents in the class here.
It was 500,000, but now there's 2 of me. So it's me
right?
and Sarah. Yeah.
And it's just a great year. So say you have a 120,000 GCI. And I'm using 120 for a reason, right? Because 120 divided by 12 is 10,000. Right? 10 times 12 is 120,000. So if you're like Mike and you're, you know, an experienced agent, and that's been in the business for a little while, you probably have an idea of what your, you know, who your clients are, what your average sales price is, what your average commission is, and that type of a thing. But if you're new to the business, and this is the first time that you've been doing this, or you want to increase your price point, whatever it is, think about like who it is that you're marketing to. So somebody else, give me an example of like where clients can come from, or where you get your clients from, or where you're targeting, marketing, whatever.
Database.
Sphere.
Database,
Yeah.
Sphere,
Your farm.
farm. I love it. Anywhere
So-
else?
Social media.
Social media. All great areas, right? So wherever your business is coming from, not only looking at like what that price point likely is. For example, if you're farming a neighborhood, you know what the average sales price in that neighborhood is. And if you don't know it, you should know it. So that's one of the first things that you do, right? And so if the average sales price is $1 million, and the average commission is 2.5%, you're looking at $25,000 in total commission, right? So if you want to hit 120,000 in commission, you're going to need to sell at least 5 homes, right? Not including your split and whatever. Hi, Cindy. Cindy Hill, number 2 KW commercial worldwide here in our office. So that's kind of what you do. So if your goal, whatever your goal is, then you break down who your clients are, how much money you're making off each client, how many deals you need to do. So if this is the scenario here, not only do you have an annual goal of 120 GCI, but like Mike did, he said like how many listing appointments he needs. He didn't get to how many actual closings he needs, but maybe that's also part of his 411. But so maybe you need 6 closings for the year. So it's really like a closing every other month, right? To hit your goal. What I love about these things too, the database, for example. So if you are working Sphere, my business has always been Sphere. No matter how many times I try to do different things to add to it, maybe if I wasn't running the office every day, I'd have opportunity to do that. But Sphere to me is a great way to get business, especially if you're new. So when you're looking at also activities, it's kind of looking at, look at your database, right? So if you take database, like was said, to me, database is 2 different things. One is the database you already have, right? And I'll say that's, so let's say cleanup database. And then the other one to me is adding database. So it doesn't matter how long you've been in this business or not, probably one key thing to your success is adding contacts. Everybody always says that, add contacts daily, weekly, right? So if I were setting goals for myself and my business, not only do I want to go out there and meet new people and get a full contact. So does everybody know what a full contact is? There's 6 parts.
I don't.
6 parts to a full contact. So it's first name, last name, phone number, email address, mailing address, and birthday.
Wow.
Right?
I didn't know that.
So that's 6 parts to a full contact. So if you've been, even if you've just started in this business, you've been in it for a while, you probably looking at your database have a bunch of holes in it, right? And would you agree that if you spend a little bit of time every week filling in those holes, you'd have a bigger, stronger database that you're marketing to, right? So whether you're calling these people, whether you're mailing them something, whether you're emailing them something, whether you're social mediaing with them with something, the point is that you're reaching out to them, having conversations with them. You have some sort of system that's marketing to these people. So if you spend a little bit of time every week cleaning up the database, you're building a better database, but at the same time, you want to add new people to it. So if it was my 411, I would also incorporate that into there too. So say you have, for example, my database is like 3,000 people. So this is how you quantify it, right? So on the cleanup database part, if I have 3,000 contacts, but I've gone through my database and only 1,800 of them are actually the full 6 contacts, I'm gonna have 1,800 here in the bracket because the database, cleanup database of 3,000 is the goal. So that difference, the 1,200 gap in the contacts is what? Again, that's why I say the numbers this way. So every month, my goal is to 100 cleanup contacts. And then down here, the weekly, all I have to do is clean up 25 contacts a week. So 25 clean, you know, et cetera, right? So then when you also break it down, it doesn't seem like that much. Like if you talk about 1,200 contacts that you have to find all this extra information for, you know, that seems like a lot, but really 25 a week isn't much. And if you stuck to that goal every week and every month of a year, by the end of the year, if you're mailing or emailing or calling 3,000 people, just think of how much business that would be, right? At the same time, go to the other example of adding contacts. So look at what your business is. If it's like mine and it's Sphere, the things that I'm putting down here in the activities every week are some sort of social things. It's Halloween, right? So let's take this back to October. The 4th week of October is Halloween. So my goal for this month is I'm gonna go to like a Halloween, I'm gonna get myself invited to whatever it is Halloween thing. And at that Halloween event, I'm not just gonna get all dressed up in my costume and drink and have a good time, but I'm gonna like meet 5 people that I haven't met before and get their contact information or whatever it is. Maybe it's 2 people for you, it doesn't have to be 5. But that's where I'm gonna find those contacts from. You know, it's January, you've got New Year's party, you've got the Super Bowl, you've got an Academy Awards party, you've got whatever it is, MLK, who cares? You're looking at your personal life and what you do.
Sorry, can you say that? Sorry.
Sorry, Siri's running amok on my Apple Watch, right?
Dan, quick question. You said there were 6 parts to the full contact. I got birth date, email, phone, and address. What was the other 2?
Birthday, email, phone, address. Who else was Who else was heard?
First and last name.
First and
Oh,
last name.
God.
I love it. Got it. Great
Yeah.
group here. I love it.
Thank you.
So also think about what kind of system do you have in place, right? So as you're designing this, one thing that Harma talks about all the time, if you've paid attention to him, is he loves farming, right? So whether you're like Harma and going to be farming, or whether you're like Dan and you like to work your sphere, or whatever it is that you do, one thing that I think is like universal across whichever way you market yourself is like when Harma says is if to be successful at farming, you need to do something consistently at least 3 times every single month, right? Actually, let me make this smaller. So say farming is the example, but I'm going to say versus sphere. Okay. So what are some ideas of things that people do when they're farming, for those of you who know that farming is? And for those of you that don't know what farming is, it's basically like concentrating all of your time, your energy, your marketing dollars, usually in a geographical area. So maybe that's why wherever you live, you get a bunch of people's postcards in your, in your mailbox, right? A bunch of agents' postcards. It doesn't have to be just like a location though, a geographical location. It's Los Angeles, it's the entertainment industry. You can market to, producers and writers. And, before I did real estate, I was in family law for 14 years. So even farming to all divorce attorneys, that's a great database to have to spend your time and energy on. But what do you do in farming, for example?
Postcards.
Love it. Postcards.
Door
Anything
knocking.
else? Door knocking. Great.
Calling.
Calling.
Yep.
Perfect. So Harma says, I always go off of Harma says, that when you're farming, you're usually only good at one thing or the other. So if you're a door knocker, you're probably not good at cold calling. If you're a cold caller, you're probably not good at door knocking, you know? Also because the amount of time that you spend in farming, like there's not that much time to, you know, if you're gonna door knock the whole neighborhood, especially how big your farm is, that's gonna take probably the whole month to hit every house. And if you're the same thing, if there's a lot of calls to be made, you know, and actually getting these people on the phone, you're spending a lot of time making those calls. So I'm going to loop door knocking or cold calling together, right? But they're both good examples. Give me someone else, give me something else.
Flyer drop off.
Flyer drop off. Cool. Anything else? Open
Events.
houses,
Neighborhood
say?
events.
events. How about emails? Email blasting. Great. So here alone is, you know, 7 examples of what people can be doing every month for farming. So if farming is, you know, picking 3 of these now, if farming is your way of getting business, like looking at least wanting to do 3 of these things, something like doing postcards, like, yeah, let's do postcards. It does cost money, right? But it, you know, Zach, our marketing department, they're creating the postcard for you. They send you the email every month. Hey, what do you have for your postcard? You know, the deadline's by this date. You know, you get the addresses from Mark and Serena with lawyer's title, and they give those addresses to Zach. So when you think about the amount of time it takes back down here to your weekly activities to send out a postcard, it's really not that much time. The marketing department's designing the postcard. All you're doing is approving it. The title reps are sending the addresses and everything to them. All you're doing is paying for it, you know? So I would still send, one thing is also always being systematic, right? So if you're gonna send out a postcard, like Zach already has the postcard program down, right? So the first week of the month, your postcard goes out. So that's one touch. But it really doesn't take much of your time. It maybe takes 10 minutes max a month. Another thing that maybe is easy to do is emails, right? So if you spent your time getting these people's contact information, the email system, setting up that email campaign, you know, having it automatically go out again systematically. So my email blast goes out on the 1st of the month, every month, because the email goes out instantaneous, right? The postcard is like 3rd-class rate postage or whatever. It's going to take, you know, 14 days to get there. So it's going to kind of hit somewhere between week 2 and week 3. So they're hearing from me on the 1st of the month. They're, you know, getting my postcard in the mail on the 2nd of the month. Those 2 things take literally no time out of your work, out of your day, out of your week, out of your month. The time that's going to suck up all your time is one of these other things. So if you are door knocking or cold calling or dropping flyers or holding open houses, this is how you're going to schedule your time for the rest of the month. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So if you're not farming, farming costs a lot of money, right? And for the most part. Now look at your sphere. Create 3 things that you can do in your sphere to hit your sphere every single month. And one thing I did starting in COVID, which has been very successful for me and my business, is postcards. Why not? It's the same postcard that I'm sending to the farm, but I'm also sending it to my mother gets my postcard. Like clearly if she's gonna buy a house, she's gonna buy it from me, or I'm never gonna talk to her again, right? But she gets that postcard for me. It's not only, this kind of might be kind of silly, yeah, sending your mom a postcard, but hey, she's proud of me. She talks about it to all her friends. She shows the postcard, you know, whatever it is. I mail postcards to people that I went to school with 20 years ago in high school that live in Nebraska. they think it's so cool that they're getting my postcard. The ones that are more local, they think I'm some big, huge agent that's literally marketing to everybody. And I just have, I guess, so much business or money that I can just literally blanket all of Los Angeles with my postcards. Who cares, right? But again, it takes up no time. It's 54 cents to send out every postcard. So when you go back and look at your database, if you have 500 people, you're spending $250, $260 a month on a postcard that goes out. But that's one touch. Another touch is, say the emails, right? So here in my sphere, I'm hitting my people, again, emails and postcards. That takes up no time for me. Now it's whatever the events are that you're going to happen in your sphere. What can you do in your sphere that might be different than farming?
Birthdays, graduations.
So events, right? Again, that's a good idea too. So one thing that I do, just if anybody is interested, because I don't have everybody's birthday, right? So it's also part of cleaning it up. But so I literally, my assistant, Kimberly, I know everybody doesn't have an assistant, literally goes through my Facebook every single month and prints out that month's birthdays. And I go through and I just literally like highlight the little heads, because they're little circle heads of people's profile pictures. And I highlight all of the people that I want to send a birthday card to. Some of them I already have addresses for. A lot of them I don't. So that's Kimberly's job, is now she has a list of people to go through and, LexisNexis, TruePeopleSearch.com, go online and basically try to find their home address. But she's not just writing the home address on the envelope and I write the birthday card and send it out. She's adding that home address to my contact. So now my contact that had a hole in it, this other part over here is cleaning up your database. Now I have the person's address for it. But hitting them up like for birthdays, that's, again, it's once a year that you're going to touch these people. But if you're doing things like that, then those kind of things add up, right? Who else has an example?
Having dinners with people or drinks or coffee. I try to do that like 3 times a month, like choosing 3 different people and just catching up, especially since this year and a half, we haven't seen that many people.
I love it. Great job. Yeah. So just like Sarah said, dinners, drinks, and coffee. And if you're working your sphere, you're going to have to do kind of those type of things, right? So again, looking back at your budget. Well, if you don't have a big budget, but you want to set a goal for yourself. So as you start thinking of the lead generation activities, you're going to end up adding goals, monthly goals and annual goals, right? So if you want to do coffee, maybe your goal is to do a coffee once a week, right? So here, you're mapping out 1 coffee. That's what? 12 bucks, $6 for them, $6 for you. You're going to treat the person to coffee. So 1 coffee a week, 4 coffees a month. But as you, like what I would do here under the coffee is put the little dot at the bottom. And I don't know if you can see that or not, but so I have 1 coffee with a bracket and a dot. So as you're actually reaching out to people, you're calling them, right? You're texting them, you're Facebook messaging them. You're sending, you're congratulating them on their new baby, on, getting married, whatever it is. Hey, Susan, like, congratulations. I just, saw you got married. That's amazing. You just got a new job. It's been so long. It's been COVID. Haven't been able to catch up. Let's go have coffee next week. Oh, Susan, I'm too busy. I can't have coffee this week. Well, what about the next week? If your goal is to have 4 coffees a month, that also incorporates into your script as you're talking to people. Oh, you got plans this week? It's too busy. What about next week? Great. So Susan is my coffee. And you got 3 other coffees to figure out as you're doing the other activities to fill in, right? And it's not just having coffee. Again, you want to turn that into like some sort of a business conversation, asking them for real estate. Can everybody see it on my little chicken scratch? Who has a goal that needs help in breaking it down? Nobody? Is this gonna be a quick class, a 30-minute class? Any questions?
I've got a question there.
Yeah.
Would like to know, so do we have kind of numbers on how many, I know everyone chooses their own way of lead generation, but how many doors do you have to knock on average? I know I've seen statistics like that in the past. That'll kind of help us break down the, creating those goals. So how many doors you have to knock on, how many houses you have to farm with postcards before you get that one listing, just so we can keep it in mind and start creating those goals to hit that target.
I have a story to jump in on that really quick that happened today.
Go ahead, Matthew.
So on my second cold call ever today, I got a listing appointment. My second one.
Nice, congratulations.
So
What did you do?
I was absentee owner, and I called and he said, yeah, I'm interested in selling that property, and I'm seeing him on Thursday. So I was 50%, I was 1 out of 2. So I think it's kind of hard to say, or you're going to tell me that, yeah, there is a number, but I think totally hard to say.
I don't know if there's a number or not. And if there is, maybe Harmon knows. I don't think there is, just because even to Matthew's point, you never know what you're going to get. But obviously, the more calls you make, it's likely that you're going to get more appointments, right? One of our top agents, his goal is he stays on the phone until he literally gets an appointment. So however long that takes, which can be hours, but it's literally that's his quitting time is once he gets that appointment. There is, like Harma says, I believe it's at least 750, 1,000 homes. He doesn't suggest farming less than that. At a high level, it should be over 1,000 homes. But if you're just getting into the business, if you don't have the budget for 1,000 homes every month, because you really need to not only just say, okay, I'm doing 1,000 homes and I could afford that, $600, $700 this month, you really should, with farming, Harma says it usually takes at least 2 years to see real results. So if you're looking at a budget of $700 or $1,000 a month, you're really looking at a budget of $12,000 or whatever a year. So that's the type of commitment that you should make. Answer your question? There's something in the chat here. Farming is working with oh, okay, great. We already answered that, right? We do postcards. Oh, I love it, Sarah. You do postcards to your sphere as well. Thank you. Everybody. I think that's kind of it. That's the 411. If nobody has the 411 to share, that was the breakdown. Everybody good?
Yeah, can I just, I guess I'll share my weekly. Because we did
amazing.
pretty much the yearly business and we did some of the breakdown, but for my week, it's 1 appointment, 100 contacts, practice scripts, meet with team, work on embedded commands and tie downs, email blast, and I just added the clean 25 contacts.
I love it. So just add, what I would add is the bracket, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that way you're able to track it if you haven't had it yet. Or, the bullet point. So if it's, a coffee or whatever, who are you going to have that coffee with?
Okay. And I got 1 contact to a stranger.
Oh, that's nice. All right. I'm going to add that to my 411 now, Mike. So I think that's it for today. If anybody wants to do their 411 and send it to me, I'm more than happy to look at it and give them, my advice if it's solicited. If you are in our mentorship program, though, I really think that you should do this monthly with your training director. That way they can see your goals, they can help you with your goals, and modify them. All right. Thank you guys all for getting on. I appreciate it. Have a great week, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you,
Bye.
Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Dan,
you.
real quick, can I ask
Hey,
you about the
Dan.
assessment I took?
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Hey, Dan,
You're welcome.
can I get a quick question?
Yeah, I'll be on for any questions.
I just wanted to know, for the 401 sheet, all I have to do is email you.
Yeah, just email me and I'll send it to you. Dan@harma.com.
All right, cool. Thank you.
All right, cool.
All right. Can I ask about the assessment I took a few days ago? So I know how that's going.
Yes, send me a text
Okay.
and that will remind me to go look at my computer and I should have it there.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day, Dan.
You too. Thank you. Bye, guys.